so that's the quadratic formula, okay? And where you get the B, the A, and the C, right, which is what you're going to be plugging in, you get that from the formulas ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay? And it's important that when you look at your problems, that they are in this order, okay? With x squared first, then just the x, then the constant last, okay? They need to be in order with the highest exponent first and then no variable at all at the end, okay? And what happens if, like, say there's no c in your problem? What is c going to be? 0, okay? So if one of these is missing from the problem, put a 0 there, okay? I think that's something that you already know. Okay, so we're going to write down the steps of how to solve a quadratic equation, or the quadratic formula. A, B, C. Those are the numbers in front of x squared, the number in front of x. And c is just a constant. That's easy to remember because it starts with a c. Okay, so the steps. Step 1 is, I'm going to bump it up here, get all the terms on the same side. Okay, it needs to be equal to 0. Right, we've seen that before. Okay, that's the way that we've used to solve quadratics before. Okay, so that's probably nothing new. You need to get all of it together on the same side and in the same order. Okay. And in ax squared plus bx plus c form. Okay, first you got to get everything in the right place and in the right order. Then the second step is label A, B, and C. Okay, you might think, I can just look at the problem and tell. Look, it's easier if you just do everything that you can to help yourself because you've seen this formula. Okay, it's a little complicated. Once we've done a few problems, once you've done some practice problems, it won't seem as complicated as it seems now, right? As it did in the song, right? But at first, it probably does seem complicated. That's how this formula is. Okay, 3 is we're going to plug in A, B, and C. We labeled them, and now we're going to plug them into the quadratic equation. Right, and number 4 is we're going to simplify. Because we'll start with the quadratic formula, which is long enough to have a couple of songs written about it, right? But once you get all the numbers plugged in and there's no variables, then you can simplify it down to sometimes just one number, right? Sometimes it'll be a little more than that, but it will definitely not be as big as you see up there. All right, we're going to start off with a more basic one, okay? That's kind of how we always do. We're going to start off with one that's a little bit easier, okay, and then build up to the more complicated ones. This one is going to be x squared minus 7x minus 18 equals 0. That's been in my head all day. Okay, so step 1, get all the terms on the same side. All right, is that done already? Yeah, right, it's equal to 0, okay? So step 2, let's label A, B, and C. Okay, what's A?
1.
1, right? It's whatever's in front of x squared, which there's nothing, that means it's a 1. Okay, what's B? Negative 7. Okay, pay attention to the sign. And then C? Negative 18. Okay, so we got A, B, and C. Now we're going to plug them into the quadratic formula that we had at the top of the page. Okay, it always starts with negative, whatever B is. Since B is a negative number, it'll be negative, negative. 2 negatives in a row. Okay, B always flips its sign when you put it into the formula. Okay, negative 7 plus or minus the square root of B squared. Okay, I'm always going to put it in parentheses, especially since it's negative. Okay, negative 7 squared minus 4 times A, which is 1, times C, which is negative 18. right, divided by 2 times a, which is 1 in this case. All right, so we've done steps 1, 2, and 3. Last, we're going to simplify. Okay, the way that we need to simplify is there's 3 parts of this problem. Okay, there's this part, where there's what's underneath the square root, and then there is the denominator to our fraction. So we're going to simplify each of the 3 parts, and before we simplify the whole thing. Okay, so I'm going to move this up. Okay, what's negative 7? Positive, right? Okay, 7. It just flips the sign. Whatever b is, it's going to be at the front of the problem. It's going to change its sign. So x equals 7 plus or minus. Right, you're going to leave the square root, but you're going to type in everything that's underneath the square root into your calculator. I wrote it down exactly as I need to type it in. Okay, so parentheses, negative 7 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 18. Right, this is an important part, okay? This is really one of the easiest parts to screw up, right? Because that's really the most complicated part of the problem when you break it down into 3 sections. Okay, so what do we get? 121. Okay, 121.